So anyway, so that is that. And of course, we'll have a Q&A at the end, of course. So you can find the webinars on the webinar page. Knowledge Bits is my email delivery system for things. I've got some learning plans out there to help you increase your knowledge. It's at free stuff. And then, again, still working on some of my books here and some more training stuff coming up. Getting really close to getting my JavaScript class released. So that'll be coming up. And I'll drop everybody a note whenever that happens. Okay, so one of the big changes with Dynamics 365 is they went, besides changing the name, and let's talk a bit about that. The name changed, and really and truly, it's just the fall release of Dynamics CRM 2016. It's technically the fall release. The version number is actually 8.2. So 8.1 was shipped in the spring, 8.2 was shipped in the fall. They just decided to remove the word CRM because, believe it or not, CRM has a negative connotation in a lot of places for various reasons. Most of them are historical and totally irrelevant at this point in time, but a lot of people are like, well, it does more than CRM. So they took out the phrase CRM because it does so much more. If you are starting from scratch with Dynamics 365, you can choose the role of the application. So do you want sales? Do you want customer service? Do you want field service? Do you want project service automation? These are all the main modules that you can pick from, and these are all individually licensed, of course, so it's like a bucket. And what will happen is if you choose one over the other, you will not have some of the functionality of the other stuff. You also won't have the cost associated with it as well. We have a new app designer, so we can actually create quote-unquote apps, and what these are is a restricted view of the interface. A lot of times what people like me do is actually create a situation where we remove, either through security roles or editing the sitemap, is we remove a lot of the functionality because it's just not necessary. Well, what they did is they gave us a top-level designer to do that with, so we don't have to resort to that. So when you create the app, you actually just create an app, and then you only put in the components that you want to see in it. We also have a new sitemap designer, so you can actually edit the sitemap from within CRM without having to resort to a third-party tool. This is what the app designer looks like, for instance. So we have our major pieces, our entities, dashboards, and business process flows. And then amongst those, depending on where you are, of course, you can pick if you're having the forms or all forms or specific views or all views or charts, etc. And then all you're doing is building up a package. And when this package is deployed, the users only see what you've shown to them. This is a view of the sitemap editor. So again, it's all visual. So there's three main areas of a sitemap: the area, which is the top block, and then the group, which is the blue heading there, and of course the sub area is the one you actually click to make it go and do something. So this can now be done within the environment without having to resort to external tools. So that's pretty cool. Portal has been greatly enhanced. Now, when I speak of Portal, I'm talking about the Microsoft version, not the ADX version. So this is version 8. 8.x, and this is the one that is hosted by Microsoft. So when you purchase the portal, the Microsoft portal, it's a license, and then there's a configuration aspect, and then you pick which type of portal it's going to be, and it will you install a solution like you've always done. So, but this one is hosted on Microsoft's properties, just like CRM Online is. It's only available in an online mode, so it connects to CRM Online. But they made the following things. I'm not going to read all of them, but basically they were just trying to get a better integration between the different components of Dynamics 365, additional functionality, and of course, as time goes by, they'll add more to these things as well. So this is kind of an interesting one here. We've actually been asking for this feature for quite a while. So normally when you have a contact and I think an opportunity, and you want to from an account perspective, see the activities that are happening with that, with those sub-entities, they're automatically rolled up to the account. Well, they've given us the ability to do that with custom entities as well. So what you do is you create a new, either one-to-many or many-to-one relationship, and then you can actually say, I would like this to roll up to the parent. So the parent has to be an account, a contact, or an opportunity, and your entity has to support activities. So the checkbox on the properties of the the entity have to you have to have activity selected. And what this will do, and I'll show it to you later, is it will actually show up on the custom entity as well as on the parent, which is one you selected there. So we'll be showing the account and a sample entity later. Some more Power BI enhancements. So the service content pack has been modified and added several things. The sales manager now has the OData version 4 support. I think there are still some issues with that from reading different people's blogs and stuff. The new web API doesn't exactly pull things back in the way that the old OData endpoint did, so I think you need to dig around or experiment with that before you jump down one or the other. And again, we can now embed Power BI tiles into our dashboards, which is really cool. So mobile, if you're a big mobile CRM user, we have new layouts. We can actually add multimedia content to things. The synchronization filter has been enhanced to make it faster. We have enhanced JavaScript support for the forms, and we can now include web resources on the form itself. So they've added a bunch of things to the app for Outlook. So can I get a show of hands of how many people know what the app for Outlook is? Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so for those who don't know, it is not the Outlook client. So there is actually technically nothing to install. So the way that this one is configured is you actually turn it on and it actually gets installed into Office 365. It will show up in just about everywhere where you can access Office 365 data, so the application. So it'll show up inside of Outlook. It will show up inside of OWA, Outlook Web Access. It will, I think, or it may be coming one day, the Outlook for mobile. And the idea here is it's a lightweight app, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to get feature parity with the client, because if anybody, and I know a bunch of you have ever worked with the Outlook client, you know what a maintenance pain and you know what it can be. And so what they're trying to do is remove the pain by not actually having you install anything. So again, it fits into Office 365 at the kind of the exchange level, and it just shows up wherever you access your data. So they're within this one, they're adding additional functionality. So this is a view of a record, so we can track the email, we can see the recipients, we can add phone calls and other activities. We can click on this Dynamics 365 record and actually open the record in another web page if we want. It has basically more information about what my last activity was and what my next activity was, and more deeper information about the other stuff. And then when we do searching, let's say we're going to do we're doing a track here, so we're going to change the regarding. We can actually do searches to find records a little bit more than we could before. Rob asked about app limitations. There is a table up on the website I'll include in the quote-unquote show notes that I'll email everybody out today that has some things. It's not 100% what the Outlook client can do, but it's probably right now, I think, at the 80%. This update actually added the ability to track things beside email, so activities and other things like that. So yes, Debbie, this is the light version. So this is the one that is not the client. It's actually called the app. So learning path authoring. So they built in this new guided learning thing that they created, that they shipped with just the standard stuff. Last week, they actually activated the authoring part. I wrote an article on my blog last week, shows you how to do the initial setup. It's a little bit non-standard because it requires an Office 365 group, you to be added to that group. And after that, you can go create stuff. So probably by Monday, I think Monday, I'll have an article for you on how to actually create your own guided help. So that's a good thing. So this basically allows us to actually create learning modules within Dynamics 365 that are specific to a task that the user is attempting, and hopefully that will increase the usability and the ownership of the product within the user community. Okay, lots of enhancements around processes. So there's like 2 pages or 2 slides of these. So we can now switch between concurrent running tasks. So if we have multiple business process flows on a single record, we can switch between those business process flows, and the last stage will be recorded. We have enhanced security. We now have the ability to launch workflows depending on how the process flow changes. So when we move to a new stage, we can launch a workflow to make something happen if we wish. We have a new process designer that's like the app designer and the sitemap editor. It's all kind of the same type of thing, so we can actually design it with drag and drop and things like that. It's not. It does not apply to workflows. So as soon as everybody gets off their cloud, there, it's like, unfortunately, the workflow designer did not get modified. So we now have the ability to mark a workflow as either active, finished, or abandoned. So that's a new things. Recommendations, KPIs, mobile task flows. So task flows for mobile are different. They're an enhanced version of the business process flow, and for those that use mobile only. And then we have the ability to actually now call certain messages, which are the things that do stuff within Dynamics 365 directly from a workflow. Interactive Service Hub, not sure anybody uses that, but if you do, we now have unified service desk support. We can add iframes and web resources to forms. We can configure the lookup to the show filter records and multi-language stuff, and then we can actually now add an SLA timer to the main interactive form of Interactive Service Hub, so that's good as well. Matthew asked about the learning paths. Does it apply to all apps for CRM, service, and ERP? Matthew, I don't know that. I know it's in CRM, but I am not sure it's in the rest of the product. Service it would be, but ERP I don't know about. We'll have to check on that one. So field service enhancements. We now have connected field service. So has anyone ever asked or worked with IoT? Internet of Things. So we now have the ability to utilize the Azure Event Hub to ask questions of devices and actually push that information into CRM. The resource scheduling has been optimized, so that's a big change for there. And then we've got a common scheduling experience with other parts of the calendar. See, Martin has his hand up. So, Martin, do you have a question? Nope. Hope I didn't scare Martin away. Oh, now it's up again. Now it's down again. Martin's playing with me. Okay, project service automation enhancements. We now can actually import and export Microsoft Project, and that allows you to actually create things either in PSA and then export them out to be managed by Microsoft Project or vice versa. This is not Project Server. This is Project itself. Project Server, if you don't know what that is the ability to collect multiple projects and then kind of assimilate the data into a standard view. And that's what that is. Window, yes. Field Service is the new name for the Field 1 acquisition. We also can copy data from some of the related entities with PSA, and they added an estimated tax amount field if you do billing out of the PSA module. So relevant search has been enhanced. So the stuff on the left-hand side there, that's what they call faceted and filtering. So we can actually change our result set to show only specific things if we want. So that's just you got thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds or millions of records, sometimes it's hard to find things. So this allows you to actually just squeeze things down to show only certain things. So that's going to be really good. Editable grids. How many people have been wanting editable grids for like ever? So we now have the ability to add editable grids to the web, phone, and tablet views of our CRM data to just about everything, and we'll go do that here in just a little bit. So that's kind of been a big ask. Office 365 groups. We can now show a guest presence. So if someone's not part of your Office 365 system, you could show them. You can associate or disassociate an existing group with a CRM record. So instead of just creating one, you can now say find one and associate it with this group, and then we can actually add a project team member automatically to the member of the Office 365 group, so you don't actually have to do it manually. So those are pretty cool things. How many people, let me see a show of hands, how many people actually use Office 365 groups? A couple of you? Okay. Well, we might need to, that's not enough for a full webinar, but I'll try to put some kind of productivity thing together. I mentioned this last week in the notes thing, but that may be worthy of some time spent because it's actually pretty productive, and it has a bunch of interesting kind of features and side effects that will put the data in places you didn't expect, so that you don't have to have CRM or 365 open all the time. Okay, so for CRM Online, folks. We've had a system backup. So basically your instance is backed up once a day. It keeps it for 3 days, and then the backups do not count against your storage limitations. What they added was the ability for you to back it up manually. So it's called on demand. You can only restore it to a sandbox instance. To restore it to production, you have to restore it to sandbox and then publish that up to the to production. You have to have 2016 update 1 or later for backups, and they're again retained for up to 3 days. Okay, so in some cases, what's happening is, say you're getting ready to do an update, and you want to just make sure all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and allows you to actually do a manual backup. We can also use the new data export service that I have not gotten into at all, which is probably going to be a whole new thing there. But we can actually replicate data between Dynamics 365 Online and a SQL Online database. So this allows us to actually put data over into a separate database, so we can use that for BI or whatever you might want to do. So that's a new thing. If you get into the security conscious parts of this, we can actually now limit access to Dynamics 365 with trusted IP rules. So if they don't come from a specific set of IP addresses, you can actually deny access, and that keeps people from accessing your system either from a home device, say that you have it locked down where you don't like people to access anything but from a work device through your VPN, and people are accessing from home and it could cause security issues. You can actually lock them out where only your work address is available to you. So Organizational Insights finally came out of preview, and it's got a lot of really, really good enhancements. So this is a solution that you add through AppSource. Once you add it through AppSource, you can basically go to it as under settings. So you add it through AppSource, and it puts the solution into the system, and you now have access to it. So basically what happens is it keeps track of usage of system jobs, plugins, of storage, and API calls. So here's the general screen showing just your overview. This is your user count, so total active users, number of API calls, the most used entities, the most active users, and then it shows you some page requests and things like that. System jobs, so what it kind of keeps track of what you're working on from here. Any plugin activity you have, so if you could see where your plugins are being used, etc., and what the success rate is. So this is pretty good high-level overview if you're having some kind of issue with your plugins. Your storage, how it's being allocated, and this will be by instance within a single tenant. So again, this is for those of you who are not familiar with the terminology, or you don't have the setup, a tenant is basically your company. You can add multiple instances of CRM within that, whether they be production instances or sandbox instances. So what happens is this is showing the storage for the tenant broken down by instance. Let's see. Debbie asks, is this a chargeable feature? I'm not really sure what chargeable means, Debbie. Can you explain? I'll get back to that. Still don't. What do you mean chargeable? What's the word chargeable? Like, do you like, are you going to charge people for that? No, this is just FYI, if that's what you're getting at. So this is just telling you how you're using your data, put that way. And then finally, the API calls here. So if you're doing a lot of SDK work through whatever it might be, this is basically just kind of an overview of the different types of API calls being used. So as you can see on the right-hand side, they're the most used API calls. These are actual internal calls that get access. Let's see. Cheating asks, is this feature available on 2016 update 1 online? The preview was. I think that the production level is only at Dynamics 365. I don't think it is there earlier. The preview wasn't this robust, quite honestly. And Christian, I do not know about the on-premise thing. There is actually a chart out there that lists the different features available for online versus on-premise, so you'll have to look for that. Okay, then we get into the preview feature. So here's what happened when they showed us what was coming with Dynamics 365 at the user group conference in October. What that was the actual vision, and so they didn't actually release everything that they had that they showed us and things like that. So what is going on is as they are completing the development of all these things, they're throwing them into a preview mode as they always do. So they throw it in a preview and then they'll run it for a few months or a cycle or whatever it may be, and then they'll make it generally available and it'll pop out a preview and be part of the product. And the way, as you can kind of see from how they're doing different things within the product, is they're going after the component model. So they're trying to get everything to where they're just adding components to the system instead of the whole monolithic application that we've always had. Okay, so they're adding things like cognitive services so that you can actually do product recommendations, knowledge-based articles, similar cases, document suggestions. All of these are built on top of the Azure Cortana cognitive services. Customer insights, I know a lot about because it uses the Azure service, which even in preview is $250 a month. And quite honestly, I love you guys, but I don't think you're worth $250 just to show you a demo. If somebody wants to send me $250, I'll sign up for a month and figure out how it works and turn it off and show you how it works. How about that? So anyway, so this is it's based on, like I said, that service. It's a lot of just taking data in, building a model, analyze stuff, and then applying visualizations at the very end. That's what this is about. Relationship insights is the cool one. So this is again in preview. So we have at this point 3 different things. We have the relationship assistant, email engagement, and an auto capture. And we'll get into that in just a second. So how it shows up is going to be depending on your level of your mode of access to the actual data itself. So what we're looking at here is a mobile device where the very top of our view we have a list of what they call cards. And you'll see that, okay, here's what we're doing. We've got 3 cards there and then some data. On the back image, which is the web version, of course, at the top of the dashboard, we have a screen that shows the relationship assistant. And what these are warnings or informational cards about specific records that need to be attended to. So the total shipment of cards is going to be like 20 or 25 different things it's checking for. But I think the initial version is only like 4 or 5, and basically it's just common stuff like, okay, you haven't worked on this opportunity in a while, or this is overdue and stuff like that. Email engagement is very similar to what a product like ClickDimensions has, where they show you how an email is being worked on. So you could see when it was sent, when it was last opened, downloaded attachments, did they click on things, did they reply? So this is done within the actual email record itself. So there's 2 views here. The one on the right is the actual email. The one on the left, the social pane will have additional information, as you see those bubbles there, that will basically give you just information about that. The auto capture feature is very interesting. What this does is it looks inside Office 365 into Exchange, and it says, you've got an email in Exchange that is probably related to this record, but is not inside CRM. Would you like to track that record or that email? And as you see in our activities here, we had an email to Nancy Anderson, but then Jim and Sydney and Jim actually replied back, but they're not inside CRM. So just by clicking the track button, I can actually add those emails to CRM and not have to go to Outlook or anything else to load it. And again, I think it's really just for Exchange Online. I do not think it will work with anything else just yet. Veneer says, wait, is email engagement working with a built-in email editor? Yes. There is no marketing automation function. This is strictly email, nothing else. Okay, I think that's it. So let's get out of this and let's go over and look at the product here. So where am I? I am here. How about here? Okay. So I'm going to have to flip between two different Dynamics 365 instances because I've got different types of data in different places, so I apologize up front for that. So as you can see, here's my relationship assistant. So we have on the Coho Winery, we have no activity with the account and no activity with an opportunity and no activity with a contact. So if I click on this, we'll actually go and open that and then basically again show me, hey, you haven't done anything with this. So open an account, I can send an email. If I look at the assistant here, you'll see the same type of cards there. Okay. Go back to my account. Let me go back over to ADatum. You know what? I forgot to show you something. Let me go back to just the top. So let's explore the navigation for just a second because it's a little bit different and it's different enough that we need to make note of it. Okay. So you'll notice we lost the hamburger icon. It used to be right there. We still have the waffle, and these are actual terms, people. I'm not making them up. These are designer terms. So the way that we navigate between the areas inside CRM is by clicking the down arrow beside whatever the main area is. As you notice, it kind of makes the selected area a little bit larger as we go through. Okay. The Dynamics 365 drop-down actually shows you your quote-unquote apps. So I actually have, this is just called Contoso 365. There's also a sales module and a customer service module. And to give you an example of what those look like, if I go into the customer service module, what do you think I'm going to see? Anybody? Anybody? Bueller? Anybody? Wow. I only have customer service. Okay. If I go into the sales module, I only have sales, and they included marketing into the sales module, so you didn't lose any functionality there. So sales and marketing is in sales. Okay. Or I can create my own. I can create a custom app. The get more apps down here, that's how we open up AppSource. And like here's where we get organizational insights. And then as you can see, there are other partners who've had applications certified to work with the AppSource, and they've been included. And all it takes for you to get these to be put into the system is just click on it, answer a couple questions, pick the organization that you want or the instance that you want it to be installed in, and we'll actually go in there. Okay. So that's that. And then let me close this. The waffle will get you back to the main kind of home page. Now this is a little bit different than opening it up from the Office 365 portal. What will happen when you select one of these, it'll actually replace this window here, which I don't actually like, but that's just the way it is. Okay, so going back to my thing here. So if I go to accounts and open up ADatum, So I'm going to look at activities, and you see this task here? This actually came from a subentity called sample 1. If I look here and open up my sample 1 there, you'll see that I have this sample 1 task here. Okay, so this is the one where it was actually being rolled up into the account. So again, just like contacts and opportunities roll up their activities into the account, now my sample 1 entity rolls up its activities into the account. So this is actually pretty useful, I think. A lot of people might use that. Okay, so let's go look at the editable grid there. So let me open that up, solution. So this is a couple step process. So the first thing you do is you open up your default solution, or if you have a custom solution, depending on that. And then this is just the information page on the entity. So we're on contact. If I go to the controls tab, you'll see that the control that I have specific to this entity is the Dynamics 365 read-only grid, which is a default. You'll also see it's on the web version, the phone, and the tablet. I can add a control, and then I can select the control I want. Calendar, timeline, editable grid. So we're going to select the editable grid. I'm going to add that. And then I can specify where I would like to see my editable grid. Okay, so I'm going to specify all 3 and then save that. The grid actually, you can modify it to a certain extent and add different things to it, nest grids and things like that. We're just going to see the simple version. We'll get into the deeper context in a later webinar. How about that? Taylor, I'll put the webinar up on YouTube. So, and then I'll send an email out to everybody. Ben asks, is it easy to make a custom entity show up for multiple apps? Of course it is. It's just you just pick what you want. You literally we'll get into that. We'll make that one. We'll depends on the time. But yeah, it's pretty simple. I did not know it was going to take this long. Tell you what, while that is updating, let's go look at something else. So let's go back to, well, I can't do it on that one. Let's go look at organizational insights while we're waiting for that to finish. Oh, wrong one, over here. Organizational insights. So first thing, you can select your date range up here. But you can select your users and stuff. Here's my actual usage. Again, I just turned this on this morning on this one, but okay, I've done a lot of mailboxes, web resources. I'm the only one on here, so that's why I'm the most active. Most active users, which is me, is doing either deletes or updates. I'm under total of operations. Users perform specific options, etc., or specific operations. Cheat and ask, does the editable grid on the Outlook work on the Outlook plugin? That one I have not tested yet. I got a feeling it does not, but it might. I actually don't have a setup where I can test that out. So anyway, system jobs, plugins. Here's my storage. Again, I've got 3 instances here, so that shows me my instances in each one. If you hover it over, you'll see the actual amount you've consumed, and then finally the API call. So doing a lot of creating, retrieving of entities, retrieve multiple, updating, things like that. Let's go back to our thing, and it is still updating. Man, it is slow today. We'll come back to that later then. So let's go settings, customizations, and let's go look at the sitemap editor. How about that? Well, I thought we'd go to this one. Okay, so the sitemap is under the client extensions group. And as you can see, I've got 3 different sitemaps, one for customer service, one for sales, and one for just the normal sitemap. If I just click on that or actually double click and hit edit, it'll actually bring the editor up. And here we have it in all its glory. So if I wanted to change sales to, I can do it like that. I can change other things. You can add multiple titles. If you have multiple languages, you can specify the language code and then specify the title, and that will, of course, show different titles based on the user's language. I can specify URL to do if I click that. If I go to the sub area leads, I can change the I can select the type, I can select the entity, I can specify URL. Is it the default dashboard, the title again, the icon, what the ID is, and all the other stuff that goes with it. All this information here about what all this stuff means is inside the SDK. So if you got questions on that, look in the SDK to do stuff. Again, you can go and add new stuff. You can clone things, delete things. Be cautious when you delete things. You can put your system into a state you're never going to recover from because you don't have the data. And what you'll end up doing is having to spin up a trial of CRM and then exporting the sitemap and copying the XML out of that and sticking it into yours because you didn't think you would need it ever again. Not that I've ever done that or anything, but that's something I've seen. Debbie says, can you delete any you don't use here? No, Debbie, the way that you do that is you set the security at the security role level. That's the easiest way, because what happens is one day you might use them and then they're gone. And that's what I just mentioned. Don't delete things unless you absolutely have to. Sometimes you have to delete things because they show up anyway, like if you have the owner is also a system administrator and they're getting tired because they see leads and they don't have leads, then just go ahead and delete the thing from the sitemap. That's the easiest way to solve that problem. But again, later on, if you have to go back and put it back, you have to know exactly what was in there to put it back correctly. Otherwise, it won't work. So first option is always remove access or set the privilege level on that, which you do by setting, click on that, by setting the privileges right here. So if I want to say I only want marketing lists to show up if they have, let me see if I can make this bigger. There we go. Let's see, marketing, add marketing list. And they need to have, say, create rights to that. And what this means is if they do not have the ability to create a marketing list, it will not show up. So, okay. It's kind of funny. I actually did this one time. Rob Harrison, who's on here, had a customer, and this is when CRM started checking for emails automatically within the thing. And what happened is one of their customers didn't use leads, and they took away the read access to leads, and then all of a sudden the Outlook client started failing because it couldn't get into the leads to check for email addresses. So how we fixed this is we literally just did that. We went and selected lead, said they had to be able to create a lead. If they couldn't create a lead, then they didn't, or maybe we did read. If they can't read reads, create leads, and then we took the read access off, and then it was looking at lead. It said, no, they cannot create leads, so we'll automatically remove it from the sitemap. So again, always use security over anything else because it's the easiest thing to change. You start deleting things, it's a permanent decision at the end, then you wind up with a possibility where you can't put it back the way it was. Sanford says, I don't know how many times I've run across deleted items Yeah, I have one of my CRM online organizations had a really bad upgrade experience, and I ended up just destroying the sitemap just to get the site back. And I still do not have um, items that I need to do to administer the site. I don't have access to them. I have to basically do an advanced find to get to the entity because it's not on the menus anymore. Winner says he created a sysadmin group and move everything over there and hide it. Yep, that's what I do too. Okay. So anyway, so yeah, so you basically just do these things. Don't worry about the big scary icons. That is from early versions of CRM that are totally ignored these days. Okay, that's why they're so fuzzy, is because those are 32 by 32 and they'll show you at 128 by 128 or some silly thing like that, maybe 256 by 256. So anyway, so do that, do save, and then publish, and then that will put it out there. So a whole lot easier to use than we had before. Okay, and I'm gonna leave that page. Go back and see if my other thing is finished. To contact. Okay, there's that. We also have some events on the actual entity which I have not explored, so I haven't even played with that yet. So I need to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and publish this. I think I still have to publish after a save like that. While this is working, what other areas do you guys want to dig into? Learning paths. Okay, let me go dig in that. Let me go figure out where I put that. Let's see, training. Nope. Training. Okay, I may have to do that later. I don't have it listed here. Tell you what, hang on one second. Settings, administration. So like I said, there's about a 3-step process to turn this on. So you go to System Settings, scroll down a bit and turn on Learning Path Authoring under the Custom Help thing. So that's turned on right there. I go to my admin. I got to go check my security. So with this, what you have to do is go and you have to be part of a group called Learning Path Authors. So that is that. And then it should show up under training, which I'm not sure why it's not showing up under training. Oh, come on. That is very strange. Well, I guess I won't be showing it to you, but if I did show it to you, it would be right here. It would say Learning Path Authoring. And yeah, I don't have an explanation why it's not there. It's not in either one of these. I'm pretty sure this is where I did set it up there. It's all set up, yeah. I think if I go to this one, hang on a second. Yeah. Yep. Jessica, I don't think I can find it's a learning path that's not stored in CRM. It's an Azure site unless I'm terribly mistaken. I wrote that in the article. What happens is when you click on it, I'll tell you what. Let me pop this up. When you go to the site, it's blatantly obvious it's not inside CRM. It actually pops up a different page, and because the way it works is yeah, it's just not there. It will actually physically bring up another page. And it's kind of disconcerting because what it does is it flops you back to the opening homepage of Dynamics CRM and it sits there for a few seconds, and then so the page just magically appears. So that, like I said, it's kind of disconcerting the way it works, but that's just, I'm sure, just a production issue right there. So they'll probably fix that as things go on. And then what would happen, the learning paths are over here. That's this box here, which a user can opt out of, by the way, under their settings. So basically what you'll be doing is adding new things over here, depending on how things worked. Open content library. Well, let's see what happened there. Wow, that's different. I wonder if they changed something. Huh. Maybe that's why it doesn't work anymore. Oh, okay. Well, hey, here we are. Okay. So let's see how to get back there. Okay, so like I said, this is technically a different page. I mean, it's a 100% different page. So you're not actually inside CRM at this point. So even though it doesn't look like it. So anyway, so I have not done this at all, but my assumption is you click on New Guided Task. You can specify a name, where it shows up, how it shows up, what happens, et cetera, et cetera. And then what will happen is you will have it in this list here, and then you publish that. And you can localize it. What's under configuration? What roles these have? See that button right there? 99% probability that button is there because, again, this data is stored inside of Azure, I bet, and you have to click that to sync the roles that have access to this. And so the idea is only certain roles can have access to certain things, I think is the deal. That's probably it right there. So if I go back, what happened was I went to my learning path. This magical thing popped up here and said I can edit this template, or I can go to my content library, which is what I was looking for under the training thing. So they've moved it. So I need to make note of that in my article. Okay, so I don't know if that was just a production thing or what. But anyway, so this is how you get to it. So go to your stuff there. If you've got that learning path authoring turned on, you can then go to that. Again, the primary thing is you've got to be a member of that Office 365 group that says learning path authors. If you're not part of that, you will not have access to this feature, and you will get a really weird error message. So, okay, I am, by golly, going to show you one day, probably not soon, how to do editable grids. Let's just go try it. Whoops. See if it's done. Just for giggles. No. Nope, not there yet. So basically what happens when you have the editable grid, it shows up physically different than this. Probably should have turned one of those on in my other environment. Ah, there we go. How about that? Okay. So here is the deal with this. So this is how you know that you have an editable grid live. As you see this thing up here, this is a grouping. So say I want to group by a field that I don't have. So probably like if I had a city like that. So I can group it. But if I wanted to actually edit the company name, I could do that. That's locked. Phone number. Okay, phone number's there. And then over on the right-hand side, you'll see a little save icon. So that'll save it. So when it shows up with a little lock, it means you can't edit it from there. You just have to open it up. but you can group it. So like if I want to group by company name, I'll do that. That makes a like a class. All these have no company names for some reason. So basically that would group by name, so I could actually move it up there as well. You can have multiple groupings. The filtering works the same as it before. And again, it's only going to allow you to edit whatever you see on the screen. And then theoretically, let's see, tell you what, let's go associate this guy with somebody. Company. Okay. Jessica asks if it warns you when you navigate away. I don't know. Well, let's go try that out. We'll do that. Okay, so if I was a contact, I would not be displayed. That's interesting. Interesting. Well, that's awesome. So nope. Oh, you know what? I'm on the wrong one. That's why I can't find it. Okay, so theoretically, if I bring this open, still got that. So do that. If I tried to go back to a datum, what's it do? It did not warn me that there was data to be saved. Okay, good thing to note. Yep, did not warn me at all. It says unsafe changes, but didn't do anything about it. Okay, good thing to note. Thanks for the suggestion. Okay, what else you guys got? Any other questions on what's new? No, is that it? Okay. Well, then we will, let's see. Sanford, he asked if there's scripting editable grids. There is some scripting, I think, but I have not played with it at all. So I think that's what those events that event tab was on the control on the entity itself. I think that's what that was for. But let me go dig into that. When you're asked if I've been able to test team member access, yeah, that works fine. That's been there for a long time in here. Can you download a trial of Dynamics like you could with Serum Online? Yeah, you just download the software. It's a 90-day trial with the trial key for the on premises is 90 days. So a lot of times what we would do in the old days is we would just download the trial and install it with the trial key, and then when the customer got the real key, just add that to it, and it would just make it into the real thing. There's no physical difference in it. Ahmed wants to know if there's a possibility I can do a session with what's in the SDK. Ahmed, I would. Here's the problem with that. I was just looking at this morning. I was around a blog article. So you see this right here? That's the wrong one. Let me just bring it up. Okay, so this is 8.2. They released an SDK update on the 11th, but it doesn't have anything about what they changed between November and the 11th. So technically speaking, this is all done. If you don't know what I'm talking about, download the SDK, open up the help file, go to the release history, and then these different sections will tell you exactly what they changed. Okay, so between 8.1, which was the CRM 2016 spring release, and 8.2, which is Dynamics 365, this is what was changed. Okay, so you don't really need a webinar on that. That's all this. And so these are all hyperlinks to the individual pieces of data, either enclosed inside this help file or pointed to on the internet. Okay, Sanford said, yes, you can add scripting like forms. Yeah, I thought you could. I'd played with that when it first came out in preview, but that's been a couple months ago. Okay, anybody else? Cheaton said, do I have a webinar for integrating Outlook plugin? No, I will never do a webinar for integrating Outlook plugin because people will start asking me support questions about the Outlook plugin, and I am not going to answer them because I don't like the Outlook plugin because it's too hard to work with. So not that I'm biased or anything, it's just everything is going to be specific to your environment. There are things that I just can't control. I have no customers who use it. Not that I'm bitter or anything. I didn't say hate. I just said I didn't like it. Okay. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week if you're around. But other than that, thanks for showing up today.